I got my brother-in-law deported, and my wife filed for divorce the next day. My wife's brother, Diego, moved into our guest room 3 years ago, supposed to be temporary while he got on his feet. He worked construction jobs, paid zero rent, and ate our food every single night. I came home from my warehouse shift at 6, and he'd already be on the couch watching our TV, drinking my beer from the fridge. But the real problem started 6 months ago. I overheard him on the phone in the backyard, speaking Spanish fast. I don't speak much Spanish, but I caught enough words. He was laughing about his fake Social Security card, bragging to someone about how easy it was to get work. Then he said something about never going back to Monterrey. I didn't say anything that night, just filed it away. 2 months later, Diego borrowed my truck without asking, came back at 2 a.m. with the front bumper scratched to hell. When I confronted him the next morning, he shrugged and said, "It's just a truck, man. Relax." My wife took his side, said I was being controlling, and that family helps family. Last month, I got laid off from the warehouse. Severance package was decent, but I needed to find work fast. Diego kept his construction job, still paid nothing for rent, still ate our groceries. I was filling out unemployment forms at the kitchen table when he walked by, laughed, and said, "Maybe if you worked harder like me, you'd still have a job." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the fake Social Security number, the disrespect, my wife always choosing him over me. At 3 a.m., I grabbed my phone and searched for the ICE tip line, filled out the online form, put in our address, his worksite location, his full name, description of his truck, hit submit. Nothing happened for 2 weeks. I almost forgot about it. Then one Tuesday morning, Diego left for his construction job at 5 a.m. like usual. By noon, my wife was screaming at me on the phone. ICE had shown up at his worksite, arrested him right there in front of everyone. Her mom was hysterical, calling me every 5 minutes. I played dumb, told my wife I had no idea what happened. Maybe someone at his job reported him. She didn't believe me for a second. That night, Diego called from a detention center 2 hours away. They were processing him for deportation. My wife started packing his stuff, crying the whole time. Her entire family was blowing up my phone. Her dad left me a voicemail calling me every name in the book. The next morning, I woke up to divorce papers on the kitchen table. My wife had already called a lawyer, already filled everything out. She was staying at her mom's house. The papers were sitting right next to my empty coffee mug. I picked them up and started reading. She was asking for the house, the car, everything. At the bottom, she'd written in pen, "You destroyed my family." My phone started ringing, her lawyer's number. I stared at it, watching it buzz on the table. The papers were still in my hand. Diego was probably on a bus to the border by now. My wife's voicemail said she was coming by at 4 p.m. to tell me something important. I tried calling her back, but she didn't answer. Then Diego's mom called me, crying, speaking broken English. She said Diego told her everything before they deported him, about how my wife asked him to provoke me on purpose, to push me until I did something stupid. She said my wife wanted a divorce 6 months ago but needed me to be the bad guy so she could take everything in court. Diego felt guilty and confessed to his mom from the detention center. She was telling me this because she felt bad for me. I hung up and just sat there staring at those divorce papers. Then I heard my wife's key in the lock, and she walked in with her lawyer, a recording device, and my best friend from work who apparently had a lot to say about what I'd told him about Diego over beers last month. My wife's name was Camila. We'd been married for 7 years. Met at a company picnic when I was 24 and she was 22. She worked in the office doing payroll while I loaded trucks in the warehouse. She was beautiful in that effortless way, dark hair always pulled back, smile that made you forget what you were saying mid-sentence. I proposed after 2 years of dating. Her family never really liked me, but I thought I'd win them over eventually. I never did. Now she was standing in my living room with a lawyer in a gray suit and my buddy Trevor, who I'd known since high school. Trevor wouldn't look at me, just stared at his shoes like they were suddenly the most interesting thing in the room. Camila's lawyer was a woman in her 50s with reading glasses hanging from a chain around her neck. She set the recording device on the coffee table and pressed a button. A red light blinked on. "Mr. Keegan," the lawyer said, "I'm Patricia Woodall. I represent Mrs. Reyes in this divorce proceeding. Before we begin, I need to inform you that this conversation is being recorded with your knowledge and consent. If you'd like to have your own attorney present, that's your right." I didn't have an attorney. I didn't have anything except a half-empty severance check and a mortgage I couldn't afford alone. "What is this?" I asked. Camila crossed her arms. She was wearing the blue blouse I'd bought her for Christmas, the one she said she loved. Now it felt like a prop. "Trevor," she said, "tell him what you told me." Trevor finally looked up. His face was red, the way it got when he'd had too many drinks and was about to say something stupid. but he was sober now. Dead sober. "Coop, I'm sorry, man," he said. "But she called me last night. Asked if you ever talked about Diego." I couldn't lie. Lie about what? About what you said at O'Malley's 3 weeks ago. About how you were going to do something about him. How you were tired of him eating your food and driving your truck, and how Camilla always picked him over you. My stomach dropped. "I was venting," I said. "We were drinking. That's what guys do." "You said you were going to make sure he got what was coming to him," Trevor said. "Those were your exact words. I remember because I thought it was weird. You said you had a plan." Patricia Woodall wrote something on her notepad. "Mr. Keegan," she said, "did you contact Immigration and Customs Enforcement regarding Diego Reyes?" I said nothing. "We can subpoena your phone records," she continued. "Your browser history, the IP address used to submit the tip. This will come out one way or another. I'm giving you the opportunity to be honest now, which will look better for you in court." Camilla was staring at me, not with anger, with something worse. Satisfaction. "You set me up," I said to her. "I didn't set you up," she said. "You did this yourself. I just knew you would. Diego's mom called me. She told me everything. About how you told him to provoke me. About how you wanted a divorce 6 months ago but needed me to be the bad guy." For a split second, something flickered across Camilla's face. Surprise. Then it was gone, replaced by that cold mask she'd been wearing since she walked in. "Diego's mom is a grieving mother who just lost her son to deportation," Patricia said smoothly. "Anything she says is hearsay and inadmissible. What we have is a recorded statement from Mr. Bao, Trevor Nolan, confirming that you expressed intent to harm Diego Reyes, followed by an immigration enforcement action that resulted in his arrest and deportation." "I didn't harm him. I made a phone call." "You destroyed her family," Patricia said. "That's going to play very well with a judge." Trevor shifted his weight. He looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. "I thought you were my friend," I said to him. "I am your friend," he said. "But she told me if I didn't cooperate, she'd tell my wife about that thing that happened at the Christmas party 2 years ago." "What thing?" Trevor's face went even redder. "Nothing, it doesn't matter. The point is, I'm sorry, but I gotta look out for myself here." Camilla smiled. Just a small one. Barely there, but I saw it. "Here's what's going to happen," Patricia said. "My client is filing for divorce on grounds of emotional cruelty and alienation of family affection. Given the circumstances, she's requesting full ownership of the marital home, the vehicle registered in both your names, and spousal support for a period of 5 years while she reestablishes herself." Reestablishes herself? She has a job. She'll be taking a leave of absence to deal with the emotional trauma of losing her brother. I laughed. I couldn't help it. It came out sharp and bitter, like a cough. "This is insane," I said. "You people are actually insane." "Mr. Keegan, I strongly suggest you retain counsel before responding to any of these filings," Patricia said. "In the meantime, my client will be staying elsewhere. You have 48 hours to vacate the premises." "Vacate? This is my house. It's the marital home. And given the volatile nature of this situation, we filed for a temporary restraining order. You'll be served by end of business today." They left, just like that. Patricia clicked off the recording device, dropped it in her briefcase, and walked out. Camilla followed without looking back. Trevor mumbled something about being sorry again, and then he was gone too, the front door clicking shut behind him. I stood in my living room alone. The divorce papers were still on the kitchen table. My coffee from that morning was cold in the mug. Through the window, I could see Camilla getting into Patricia's BMW. She was on her phone, smiling. I had 48 hours to figure out my entire life. The first thing I did was call my cousin Brennan. He wasn't a lawyer, but he knew one. Guy named Orville Peck, who worked out of a strip mall office between a nail salon and a Chinese restaurant. Orville had handled Brennan's DUI 2 years ago and got the charges dropped on a technicality. "Immigration stuff is tricky," Brennan said on the phone. "But Orville knows people. He'll at least tell you what you're dealing with." I drove to the strip mall that afternoon. Orville's office smelled like sesame chicken and nail polish remover. He was a big guy, late 60s, with a white beard and suspenders holding up pants that were 2 sizes too big. His desk was covered in papers and empty Diet Coke cans. "So let me get this straight," he said after I explained everything. "Your wife's brother was living with you illegally. He borrowed your truck, wrecked it, disrespected you constantly, paid no rent. And when you finally did something about it, your wife filed for divorce and is trying to take everything. That's about the size of it. And this friend of yours, Trevor, he's willing to testify that you planned the whole thing." "He's not willing. He's being blackmailed. My wife has something on him." Orville leaned back in his chair. It creaked under his weight. "Here's the thing," he said. "Reporting someone to ICE isn't illegal. It might be morally questionable depending on who you ask, but it's not against the law. What your wife is trying to do is paint you as the villain so she can get a favorable divorce settlement. Can she do that? She can try, but here's what she doesn't know. In this state, we have what's called equitable distribution. That means marital assets get divided fairly, not necessarily equally. And if she was planning this divorce for 6 months, there might be evidence of that. Bank records showing money being moved. Communications with her lawyer before any of this happened. If we can prove she was setting you up, that changes everything. Diego's mom told me Camila asked him to provoke me, that she wanted me to do something stupid. Can Diego's mom testify to that? She barely speaks English, and her son just got deported. I don't think she's going to help me in court. Orville tapped his pen against his desk. What about Diego himself? Where is he now? Mexico, I assume? Monterrey. That's where his family is from. Can you contact him? I don't even have his number. Camila handled all that. Then we need to find another way. Orville opened a drawer and pulled out a yellow legal pad. Tell me everything. From the beginning. Every conversation you had with Diego, every time your wife took his side, every piece of evidence that shows she was planning this. I talked for 2 hours. About the 3 years Diego lived with us. About the truck. About the comment he made when I lost my job. About the phone call I overheard in the backyard. About Camila's family never accepting me. About the way she started sleeping in the guest room 3 months ago, claiming she needed space to deal with stress. When I finished, Orville had filled 6 pages of notes. Here's what we're going to do, he said. First, we're going to respond to the divorce filing. Contest everything. Second, we're going to subpoena your wife's phone records and bank statements. If she was planning this divorce before the ICE thing, there'll be a trail. Third, we're going to find Diego. Find him. He's in Mexico. People in Mexico have phones. They have Facebook. They have family members who might be willing to talk. If your mother-in-law was telling the truth, Diego feels guilty. Guilty people sometimes want to make things right. I left Orville's office with a retainer agreement and a payment plan. $3,000 up front, which I paid with what was left of my severance. The rest would come out of whatever settlement we got, if we got one. That night, I checked into a Motel 6 off the highway. The room smelled like stale cigarettes and industrial cleaner. The sheets were scratchy and the TV only got 12 channels. But it was $42 a night, and I needed to stretch my money as far as possible. I lay on the bed staring at the water-stained ceiling, trying to figure out how my life had fallen apart so fast. 3 weeks ago, I had a wife, a house, a best friend, and a job. Now I had none of those things. I was lying in a motel room listening to a couple argue through the thin walls while my wife plotted to take everything I owned. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. This is Diego's mom. Please don't ignore me. I need to talk to you. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I called the number. She answered on the second ring. Mr. Cooper? Mrs. Reyes? What's going on? I need to tell you something. Something I didn't say before because I was scared. I sat up on the bed. I'm listening. My daughter, Camila. She is not a good person. I know this is hard to hear. She is my daughter and I love her. But she has done bad things. What kind of bad things? There was a long pause. I could hear her breathing, the way old people breathe when they're gathering courage. Before you, she said, Camila was married to another man. His name was Vincent. They were together for 2 years. When they divorced, he had nothing. She took everything. His house, his car, his savings. I didn't know she was married before. She doesn't tell people. Vincent moved to another state. He wanted to start over. He was a good man. She destroyed him. I thought about the blue blouse, the smile in the BMW, the recording device on the coffee table. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because Diego called me again today from Mexico. He told me more about what Camila asked him to do, how she told him to make you angry, how she said if he could get you to hit him, she could get even more in the divorce. She wanted me to hit him? Diego wouldn't do it. That's why he just insulted you instead. He thought that was enough. He didn't know about the immigration thing. He was stupid. He thought it was just a game. It wasn't a game to me. I know. That's why I'm calling. Diego feels very bad about what happened. He wants to help you. He said he will talk to your lawyer, on the phone or video, however you need. He will tell the truth about what Camila asked him to do. I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. Mrs. Reyes, can you give me Diego's number? She did. I wrote it on the motel notepad. Thank you, I said. I mean it. Be careful with my daughter, she said. She is very smart, and she is very mean when she doesn't get what she wants. The next morning, I called Orville with the update. He was cautiously optimistic. A witness who can testify that your wife orchestrated this whole thing, that's huge. But we need to be careful. He's in another country. His testimony would have to be done via deposition, and there are rules about that. Plus, your wife's lawyer is going to argue he's biased because you got him deported. I didn't get him deported. He was here illegally. I just made a phone call. Semantics, Cooper. In court, everything is semantics. We arranged for a video call with Diego that afternoon. I drove to Orville's office and sat in his cramped conference room while he set up his laptop. The connection was spotty, but eventually Diego's face appeared on the screen. He looked different, thinner. There were dark circles under his eyes, and he hadn't shaved in what looked like a week. Behind him I could see a small room with a single window and a bed with a metal frame. "Hey, Cooper," he said. "Diego." Orville introduced himself and explained the situation. Diego nodded along, occasionally glancing off screen like he was afraid someone was listening. "I'll tell you everything," Diego said. "I don't got nothing to lose anymore. Camila ruined my life too." "When did she first approach you about provoking Mr. Cooper?" Orville asked. "About 6 months ago. She called me into her room one night when Cooper was at work, said she needed my help with something, said her marriage was over and she needed a way out that would make her look good." "And what did she ask you to do specifically?" "At first, just little stuff. Use his truck without asking, eat his food, leave messes around the house. She said the more I annoyed him, the more likely he was to blow up. And when he blew up, she could use it against him." "Did she ever mention wanting him to become violent?" Diego shifted in his seat. "Yeah. She said if I could get him to hit me, even once, she could get a restraining order and take everything. The house, the car, all of it. She said the courts always side with the victim." "But Mr. Cooper never hit you?" "No. He yelled at me sometimes, called me names once or twice, but he never touched me. That's why Camila was so frustrated. She kept telling me I wasn't doing enough." "And when Mr. Cooper reported you to immigration, was that something you expected?" "No. I didn't think he would do that. I knew he was mad about the truck, but I figured he would just kick me out eventually. Camila said she had it under control. She said she would handle him." "What do you think she meant by that?" Diego rubbed his face. "I don't know, but I know she was planning something. She had meetings with her lawyer before any of this happened. She was moving money around. I saw statements on her laptop once when she left it open. She was taking money from their joint accounts and putting it somewhere else." Orville leaned forward. "Do you know where she was moving the money?" "No, but I know it was a lot. Thousands of dollars." Orville scribbled notes frantically. When the call ended, he looked at me with something close to excitement. "This is good," he said. "Really good. If we can prove she was hiding assets before the divorce filing, that's financial fraud. It completely undermines her case. How do we prove it? Subpoenas, discovery. It takes time, but we can get her bank records, credit card statements, any accounts in her name. If she was funneling money somewhere, we'll find it." The next few weeks were a blur of legal filings and phone calls. Orville moved fast, filing motions to compel discovery and requesting a delay on the divorce proceedings until we could gather evidence. Camila's lawyer, Patricia Woodall, fought back hard. She filed a motion to dismiss our requests, claiming they were a fishing expedition designed to harass her client. The judge didn't buy it. On a rainy Thursday morning, I sat in the courtroom while Orville and Patricia argued their cases. The judge was a stern-looking man in his 60s named Harold Finn. He listened to both sides without expression, occasionally making notes on a pad in front of him. When it was over, he ruled in our favor. "The respondent has raised legitimate questions about the timeline of this divorce filing and potential asset concealment," Judge Finn said. "The petitioner will provide full financial disclosure within 30 days, including all bank statements, investment accounts, and any transfers made in the 6 months prior to the filing." Camila was sitting at the other table with Patricia. She didn't react to the ruling, just sat there with her hands folded, staring straight ahead. But I saw her jaw tighten. She was scared. The financial records came through 3 weeks later. Orville spread them across his desk, highlighting and annotating as he went. I sat across from him, waiting. "Here," he said finally, pointing to a statement. "She opened a personal savings account 8 months ago, started making deposits from the joint account. Small amounts at first, 100 here, 200 there, but it adds up." "How much?" "Over the 8 months? About $15,000. $15,000? From our joint account? That's not all. She also opened a credit card in her name only and ran up about $8,000 in charges. Looks like furniture, clothes, a security deposit on an apartment." "An apartment? She was already planning to move out?" "The lease was signed 5 months ago. She never moved in, probably using it as a backup plan, but she's been paying rent on it this whole time. $500 a month." I felt sick. While I was working double shifts to keep us afloat, while I was taking care of my truck and our house and trying to be a good husband, She was secretly building an escape route, an apartment I didn't know about, money I didn't know was missing, a plan I never saw coming. Can we use this? I asked. Absolutely. This proves premeditation. She wasn't reacting to you getting Diego deported. She'd been planning to leave for months. The only question is why she needed you to be the bad guy. Leverage, I said. If she leaves me for no reason, she gets half. If I do something terrible, she gets everything and looks like the victim. Orville nodded. And with her brother gone and you looking like a monster, no one would question her story. It was actually pretty clever. Except Diego talked. Update 1. I'm typing this from my new apartment, which is basically a studio above a laundromat on the east side of town. The rent is $800 a month, which is about all I can afford while paying for the lawyer. The couple downstairs runs the laundromat and they're pretty quiet, except on Saturdays when they do the industrial machines and the whole building vibrates like a washing machine itself. It's been 2 months since my last post. A lot has happened. Let me catch you up. After we got Camilla's financial records, Orville filed an amended response to her divorce petition. We included everything: the secret savings account, the hidden credit card, the apartment she'd been renting for 5 months, Diego's video deposition, the statement from his mother about Camilla's previous marriage to Vincent, which we were able to verify through court records in another state. Patricia Woodall requested a meeting before the next hearing. She wanted to discuss a settlement. We met at a conference room in her office building. It was way nicer than Orville's strip mall setup. Glass walls, leather chairs, a view of downtown. Patricia sat at the head of the table. Camilla sat next to her, looking at me for the first time since she walked out of our house. She looked different, thinner, tired. The blue blouse was gone, replaced by a plain gray sweater. Her hair was pulled back in a loose ponytail instead of the careful styling she usually did. "Let's keep this civil," Patricia said. "We're all adults here." Orville opened his briefcase and pulled out a folder. "My client is willing to agree to a divorce on the following terms," he said. "Equal division of remaining marital assets after accounting for the funds Mrs. Reyes illegally transferred to her personal accounts. No spousal support. Mr. Cooper keeps the house, as it was purchased with his inheritance before the marriage and her name was never added to the deed." "That's ridiculous," Patricia said. "Mrs. Reyes contributed to the household for 7 years. She's entitled to compensation for that time. Mrs. Reyes spent 7 years planning to leave my client while secretly draining their joint accounts and coaching her brother to provoke him into a violent response. If anything, Mr. Cooper is entitled to damages." Camilla's face flushed. "That's not what happened." "We have your brother's testimony on video," Orville said. "We have your financial records. We have evidence of a previous divorce in which you employed similar tactics. Do you really want to go to trial with all of this?" Patricia put a hand on Camilla's arm. "Let's take a break." They stepped out into the hallway. Through the glass, I could see them arguing. Patricia was gesturing emphatically. Camilla was shaking her head. "She's going to take the deal," Orville said quietly. "How do you know?" "Because she's smart. And smart people don't go to war. They can't win." 20 minutes later, they came back. Camilla's eyes were red. "We'll agree to equal division of remaining assets and no spousal support," Patricia said. "But we want the house sale proceeds split 50-50. "The house isn't marital property," Orville said. "Mr. Cooper inherited it before the marriage. Mrs. Reyes lived in that house for 7 years. She has a claim to the appreciation in value during the marriage." Orville looked at me. "That's actually a fair point," he said quietly. "In most states, appreciation during marriage is considered marital property, even if the original asset isn't." I thought about it. The house had gone up in value maybe $60,000 since we got married. Split that and she gets $30,000. It was a lot of money. But it was also a lot less than she'd originally asked for. "Fine," I said. "But she pays her own lawyer fees and returns the money she took from the joint accounts." More arguing. More breaks. By the end of the day, we had a deal. Equal split of remaining assets. $30,000 to Camilla from the house appreciation. She returns the $15,000 she'd siphoned off, minus what she'd already spent. No spousal support. We each cover our own legal fees. I signed the papers at 5 o'clock. Camilla signed without looking at me. 7 years of marriage dissolved in an afternoon. You'd think that would be the end of it. Divorce finalized, everyone moves on. But nothing with Camilla was ever that simple. 2 weeks after the settlement, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. "Mr. Cooper, this is Detective Ruiz with the County Sheriff's Office. I need to ask you some questions about your ex-wife." My stomach dropped. "What about her?" "When was the last time you had contact with Camilla Reyes?" "At the divorce settlement. 2 weeks ago." "Why?" "We're investigating a complaint filed against you. Mrs. Reyes claims you've been stalking her and making threats. I laughed. I couldn't help it. That's insane. I haven't seen her or talked to her since we signed the papers. She has documentation. Text messages she says are from you. Screenshots of your car parked outside her apartment. I don't even know where she lives. And I definitely haven't been texting her. Would you be willing to come in and give a statement? I called Orville immediately. He told me not to say anything to the detective without him present. We scheduled a meeting at the sheriff's station for the next morning. The detective was a tired-looking guy in his 40s with a coffee stain on his tie. He showed me the evidence Camilla had provided. Screenshots of text messages from a number she claimed was mine, saying things like, "I know where you live," and "You're going to regret what you did to me." Photos of a blue pickup truck parked across the street from an apartment complex. "That's not my number," I said, pointing at the screenshots. "And that's not my truck. Mine's red. It's a 2015 Ford F-150. You can check the registration." Detective Ruiz made notes. "And you're saying you've had no contact with her at all since the divorce?" "None. I blocked her number. I've been focused on putting my life back together." Orville leaned forward. "Detective, my client believes Mrs. Reyes may be fabricating evidence as part of a continuing pattern of harassment. We have documentation of her manipulative behavior during the divorce, including coaching witnesses and concealing assets. We'd be happy to provide that information if it would help your investigation." The detective looked between us. "I'll need to verify the phone number and vehicle, but if what you're saying is true, then someone else is sending these messages. Or Mrs. Reyes is sending them to herself," Orville said. "The investigation took 3 weeks. During that time, I kept my head down and focused on finding a new job. My savings were running low and unemployment only covered so much. I applied to every warehouse and distribution center within 50 miles. Finally got a call back from a logistics company about an hour away. The commute was rough, but the pay was decent and they offered health insurance. Started the new job on a Monday. By Friday, Detective Ruiz called with an update. "We traced the phone number from the text messages," he said. "It was a prepaid phone purchased with cash at a convenience store in town. The surveillance footage shows a woman buying the phone. We're still working on identification, but it wasn't you. So I'm cleared? For now, but we're continuing to investigate. If it turns out Mrs. Reyes filed a false report, she could face criminal charges." I hung up feeling vindicated but exhausted. Even after everything, Camilla was still trying to destroy me. The divorce wasn't enough. Taking my money and my home wasn't enough. She wanted to see me in jail. A week later, Orville called with news. "They identified the woman on the surveillance footage," he said. "It was Camilla. She bought the prepaid phone herself and was sending the threatening messages to her own regular phone to frame you. Are they going to arrest her? The DA is reviewing the case. Filing a false police report is a misdemeanor, but combined with her attempts to fabricate evidence during the divorce, they might push for something more serious." 2 days later, Camilla was arrested at her apartment. I found out through the local news website, which ran a small article about a woman charged with filing a false report and attempted obstruction of justice. Her mugshot showed her looking nothing like the polished, confident woman I'd married. Her hair was greasy, her face was pale, and she was staring at the camera with an expression of pure hatred. Her family blamed me, of course. Her father called and left a voicemail filled with curse words in Spanish and English. Her mother, the same woman who'd helped me understand what was happening, stopped returning my calls. I think the pressure from the family was too much. She couldn't be seen helping the man who ruined her daughter's life. Only Diego stayed in touch. We had an odd relationship now. He was the guy who spent 3 years living in my house, eating my food, scratching my truck, and insulting me to my face. But he was also the guy who told the truth when it mattered, who felt guilty enough to testify against his own sister. We talked on the phone about once a week. His life in Monterrey wasn't easy. The job market was tough, and he was living with relatives who reminded him daily that he'd thrown away his chance in America. But he was trying to make it work. "You know," he said one night, "I never thought I'd say this, but I think getting deported was the best thing that could have happened to me. How do you figure? In America, I was a ghost. Fake name, fake papers, always looking over my shoulder. Here, I'm nobody special, but at least I'm real. I can get a real job, pay real taxes, maybe even get married someday without worrying about someone turning me in. You could have gotten legal eventually. There are pathways. Maybe. But Camilla wouldn't let me. She liked having me dependent on her. If I got papers, I wouldn't need her anymore. She needed me to stay illegal so she could control me. That hit different than I expected. All this time, I'd seen Diego as an accomplice. But he was a victim too, in his own way. Camila had used him just like she'd used me. The only difference was that he got out earlier. Update 2. It's been 6 months since my last update. Sorry for the wait. Life got busy in ways I never expected. Let me start with the trial. Camila's trial for filing false reports and obstruction of justice happened in April. I had to testify, which was not fun. Sitting in that witness chair, looking at my ex-wife at the defense table, remembering all the good times we'd had before everything went wrong, it messed with my head more than I wanted to admit. Her lawyer tried to paint me as the real villain, said I'd deported her brother out of spite, ruined her family, and driven her to desperate measures. Said she was a woman traumatized by her husband's betrayal, acting out of fear and desperation. The prosecutor wasn't having it. She laid out the timeline. Camila opening secret accounts 8 months before the divorce. The apartment lease signed 5 months before. The furniture purchased on a hidden credit card. The coaching of Diego to provoke me. The fake text messages sent from a phone she bought herself. This wasn't a woman acting out of desperation, the prosecutor said. This was a calculated scheme that began long before any deportation occurred. The defendant planned to destroy her husband's life and reputation so she could take everything he owned. When that plan failed, she tried to frame him for stalking. This is not a victim. This is a predator. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Camila sat stone-faced as the verdict was read. Her mother cried. Her father glared at me from the gallery. Sentencing came a month later. 18 months in county jail plus 2 years probation. She'd probably serve about half the jail time with good behavior. I thought I'd feel satisfied, vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. 7 years of my life, and this was how it ended. With my ex-wife going to jail and me starting over from nothing in a studio apartment above a laundromat. The new job was going well, at least. The logistics company promoted me to shift supervisor after 4 months. The commute was still brutal, but the extra money helped. I started putting a little into savings each month. Bought a used truck to replace the one I'd had to sell during the divorce. Nothing fancy. Just a reliable vehicle to get me back and forth. I didn't date. Didn't even think about it. The idea of trusting someone again felt impossible. Every time I saw a woman who seemed interested, I'd think about Camila. About how perfect she'd seemed in the beginning. About how completely she'd fooled me. Trevor reached out once, about 3 months after the trial. Sent a long text apologizing for everything. Said he'd been in a bad place. That Camila had manipulated him. That he never meant to betray me. I read the message twice, then deleted it without responding. Some bridges, once burned, stay burned. My cousin Brennan became my main support system. He'd check in every week, invite me to family dinners, make sure I wasn't isolating too much. His wife, Tanya, was kind enough to set me up with a therapist she knew. Said I needed to talk to someone who wasn't family. The therapist's name was Dr. Wendell. Older guy, glasses, looked like he'd been doing this for 40 years. Our sessions were mostly me talking about Camila, trying to understand how I'd missed the signs, how I'd married a predator and thought she was the love of my life. You didn't miss the signs, Dr. Wendell said one day. The signs weren't there. People like Camila are experts at concealment. They show you exactly what they want you to see until the mask slips. By then, you're too invested to walk away. So I'm not an idiot? You're not an idiot. You're a person who trusted someone who didn't deserve it. That says more about her character than yours. 8 months in, something unexpected happened. Orville called with news about my finances. You remember that secret account Camila had? The one she was funneling money into? Yeah? Turns out it wasn't just your money in there. She'd been skimming from her employer, too. The company figured it out during a routine audit and filed charges. She's facing additional counts of embezzlement while she's already serving time for the false report. How much did she take? About $40,000 over 2 years. They're going to add time to her sentence. I hung up feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not satisfaction, not vindication. Just a grim understanding that Camila's entire life had been built on lies and theft. I was just one of many victims. A year after the divorce was finalized, I got a letter. No return address, but the postmark was from the county jail. I knew who it was from before I even opened it. The letter was 3 pages, handwritten in Camila's neat cursive. It started with an apology. She was sorry for what she'd done, sorry for the pain she'd caused, sorry for the lies and manipulation. Then it shifted. She wasn't really sorry. She was explaining, justifying. Her childhood had been hard. Her family had never supported her dreams. Her first marriage to Vincent had been a disaster. She'd spent her whole life fighting to survive. And if she'd learned to take advantage of people along the way, that was society's fault, not hers. By the 3rd page, she was back to blaming me. If I'd been a better husband, she wouldn't have needed to plan an escape. If I'd paid more attention to her, she wouldn't have reconnected with the old boyfriend she'd been corresponding with before I even knew she was unhappy. If I hadn't been so focused on work and family obligations, she wouldn't have felt so neglected. The letter ended with a request. She wanted me to visit her in jail. She had things she wanted to say in person, things she couldn't put in writing. I read the letter twice. Then I burned it in the sink and washed the ashes down the drain. Update 3. Final. 3 years. That's how long it's been since Camilla walked into our house with a lawyer and a recording device. 3 years since I sat in a Motel 6 room staring at the water-stained ceiling wondering how my life had fallen apart. I'm typing this from the back deck of a small house in a quiet neighborhood about an hour from where all this happened. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a garage that barely fits my truck. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. Bought it with cash from the sale of the old house after paying off what I owed Orville and rebuilding my savings. The logistics company made me a regional manager last year. Better pay, better hours, no more commuting. I work with good people who don't know anything about my past, which is exactly how I like it. Diego still calls every few months. His life in Monterrey has stabilized. He got a job at a factory that makes automotive parts. Met a woman named Gabriella who knows about his past and doesn't care. They're talking about getting married next year. You should come, he said the last time we talked. For the wedding. It would mean a lot to me. I'll think about it, and I am thinking about it. The man who made my life miserable for 3 years, who insulted me and damaged my property and was part of a scheme to destroy me, has become something like a friend. Life is weird that way. His mother, Mrs. Reyes, started talking to me again after Camilla went to prison. I think she felt guilty about how the family had treated me. She sends me Christmas cards now, with little notes in broken English about how she hopes I'm doing well and that God is watching over me. Camilla got released after serving 14 months. Good behavior, plus credit for the embezzlement charges being handled concurrently. She's on probation until next year. I heard through Diego that she moved to Texas to start over, changed her last name. Probably looking for the next mark. I don't think about her much anymore. Dr. Wendell helped with that. Helped me understand that holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. At some point, you have to let go. Not for them, for yourself. Last month, something unexpected happened. I was at the grocery store loading stuff into my cart when I heard a voice behind me. Cooper? I turned around. Standing there in the produce section was a woman I vaguely recognized. Dark hair, kind eyes, holding a bunch of bananas. "It's Renata," she said. "Renata Simmons. We worked together at the warehouse before you got laid off." It took me a second, but then I remembered. Renata from payroll. Not Camilla's department, but the same building. We talked a few times at company events. She'd always seemed nice. "Oh, hey," I said. "It's been a while. Like 4 years. How are you doing?" We ended up talking for 20 minutes in the frozen food aisle. She'd left the company a year after I did. Got a job at a hospital doing administrative work. Divorced too, she mentioned. 2 kids, shared custody. Living about 10 miles from my new place. "We should catch up sometime," she said. "Grab coffee or something." I hesitated. The instinct to protect myself, to stay closed off, was strong. But something about her felt different. Safe. "Yeah," I said. "I'd like that." We exchanged numbers. She texted me that night. Just a friendly message saying it was good to see me. I texted back. We've been talking every day since. We had our first real date last week. Just coffee at a quiet place near the hospital where she works. Nothing fancy. But sitting across from her, listening to her talk about her kids and her job and her life, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Not the naive hope I'd had with Camilla, where I believed everything was perfect because I wanted it to be. This was different. Cautious hope. Earned hope. The kind that comes after you've been through hell and survived and learned not to trust blindly but to trust carefully. I don't know where things with Renata will go. Maybe nowhere. Maybe somewhere. The point is I'm willing to find out. I'm